Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie,
And I'm Will.
and this is the Baseball Unchained podcast, where a husband and wife discuss the current happenings in Major League Baseball. There are currently 9 days until opening day.
We're in the single digit. Whoa.
I don't know why my brain made me take the square root of 9 just now, but that's what I did. It's 3. So, what do we have planned for today?
We are going to hit a few headlines. There's been some injuries that happened in the WBC, which coincidentally we have the final USA versus Japan on behind our computer.
You know the guy from Big Fat Liar?
Hmm.
That gets painted blue or stained blue in the pool?
Yeah. That's what Mariel Kelly looks like?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
If that guy was, in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Japan just hit a home run off of him, so it's tied up.
Although he did seem pretty unfazed, so.
But yeah, we're going to hit some of those headlines, and then we are going to do our American League Central preview, our penultimate preview for the upcoming season.
Well, let's do it. You got some headlines for us?
Yeah. So, although the WBC games have been some of the best baseball that I've watched before, there have been a couple injuries. The most notable ones, Edwin Diaz and Jose Altuve, both got hurt within a couple days of each other. Diaz most likely will miss the entire 2023 season with a patellar tendon tear that occurred during a celebration after Puerto Rico advanced to the quarterfinal game. And Jose Altuve was hit in the hand with a fastball versus Team USA and suffered a broken thumb. He will be out for approximately 2 months.
That makes me want to die.
Broken thumb?
Getting hit in the hand?
Yeah.
That sounds so painful.
Yeah. Due to the Edwin Diaz injury, there's been a lot of talk about the World Baseball Classic being meaningless games, quote unquote, and playing in them and risking injury doesn't make sense when the teams that are paying the players' salaries don't have use of them if you get hurt in the tournament. I don't think they're meaningless games, first of all, and certainly not to the players that are representing their countries. I think that kind of idea comes from a place of entitlement that sometimes, maybe often, not sometimes, rears its head as Americans. Or we just don't have the kind of national pride that we used to have. Because our fans down in Miami and Arizona are so much quieter than the fans of the other teams.
Yeah, and aside from the, random people dressed up as, Uncle Sam and stuff, you see a lot more all-out pride by the other teams.
Yeah. And also, not even just about the fans and everything. Injuries are going to happen anywhere. The Edwin Diaz injury wasn't even during the course of the game. It was during a celebration after they won. And people get injured all the time. Glasnow strained his oblique during a bullpen session, so he wasn't even on the field technically when that happened. And injuries happen in spring training all the time. The setting of the World Baseball Classic is not the cause of the injury. Brandon Nimmo, who's a teammate of Edwin Diaz, came out and made some comments like, I certainly wouldn't be risking my $100 million contract or whatever, to play in the World Baseball Classic. I'm focused on winning a World Series and blah, blah, blah. About his, comments about his own teammate. Again, that feels like it's entitlement and not really understanding the subject matter that you're speaking on, because
Baseball can be so much bigger than just winning a World Series.
Yeah.
Because some of the people that are playing on these teams are not professional baseball players. And the only chance that they're going to have at something that's big and meaningful is by playing in this tournament.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's not the case in Edwin Diaz's case, but he still has pride in his country and wants to represent them.
And he should be allowed to have that without people being shitheads.
But the point of that was he was going along this line, Nimmo was, and saying, that basically these games don't matter. And then, why would you risk getting hurt in these games that don't matter? And then he gets hurt in a spring training game, like a couple of days later, or I think the next day, actually. So spring training, I would argue, is a lot more meaningless than this.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. And my last thought on this is, wouldn't you rather, if you're the team, if you're the Mets or the Rays or anyone that has players in the World Baseball Classic, wouldn't you rather your team's players get into some high pressure situations to get exposure to that before the season starts? I mean, if you're watching these games, you know that these atmospheres are like postseason atmospheres, if not more crazy. And that's valuable experience that even veteran major league players might not have and need to get.
Especially people who, if you're like a really good player on a really bad team, that's never going to make it into postseason.
Mike Trout.
There you go.
Yeah. He said before the game tonight, he said this is the biggest game of his life. And he's not just saying that. This is the biggest game he's played in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because he's one of the top 5 players in the major leagues, if not top 2 in a lot of circles. And he's hardly ever been to the postseason. I think maybe just once.
He's spending his whole career swimming upstream. It's a fish joke.
Anyway, so I strongly disagree that these are meaningless games, and that's all that we'll say about it. We are now going to our AL Central preview. So if you have not listened to any of our division previews yet,
first off, shame on you.
Yeah, seriously. They've been great. And sometimes hilarious.
Oftentimes hilarious. So if you have not listened to them, what we're doing is we're setting a 5-minute timer for each team. And at the end of the timer, you will hear this sound. That will mean that we are going to move into the next team. We might finish whatever comment we're making or just add a little bit more after the buzzer, but it's going to be mostly done at that point. And then at the end, we're going to do our predictions for how they will finish in the division. You ready? Ready.
The first team that we have in our preview is the Cleveland Guardians. 5 minutes on the clock, starting now. This offseason, the Cleveland Guardians made the following offseason moves. They traded third baseman Nolan Jones to the Rockies for shortstop Juan Brito. They signed catcher Mike Zunino to a 1-year, $6 million deal. They signed first baseman Josh Bell to a 2-year, $33 million deal. And they traded Owen Miller to the Brewers for a player to be named later. Who they lost? They lost 2 catchers, catcher Luke Maile and catcher Austin Hedges, to free agency. Those are the most notable ones out there. Like, we're not going to go super into detail because we only have 5 minutes. So their lineup is as follows. Batting first, Stephen Kwan, left field. Batting second, shortstop Ahmed Rosario. Batting third baseman Jose Ramirez. Batting fourth, who Jose wears a chain of himself. We talked about that in our Fuck, Marry, Kill episode.
The locket with his face in it?
Yeah. Our batting fourth, designated hitter Josh Bell. Batting fifth, first baseman Josh Naylor. Batting sixth, second baseman Andres Jimenez. Batting seventh, right fielder Oscar Gonzalez. Batting eighth, catcher Mike Zunino. Batting ninth, center fielder Miles Straw. Their starting pitchers: right-hander Shane Bieber, right-hander Tristan McKenzie, right-hander Cal Quantrill, right-hander Aaron Savali, right-hander Zach Plezak. In their bullpen, right-hander Emmanuel Clase, right-hander James Karinchak, right-hander Trevor Stephan, right-hander Nick Sandlin, right-hander Eniel De Los Santos, right-hander Eli Morgan, left-hander Tim Herron, and right-hander Hunter Gaddis. So the Guardians are one of the quietest, scary teams in the American League. They do their damage differently than everyone else. They're like a football team that just throws 5-yard slants all the way down the field. They dink and dunk hits all over the place. And as infuriating as it is to watch as an opposing fan, I can't imagine what it does to the pitchers they're facing. But they did add some guys that are power threats in Josh Bell and Mike Zunino. Zunino is so power-centric that his game recently has been basically home run or strikeout with no in-between. Also, Guardians fans, if you want to have a catchphrase to yell out when Mike Zunino hits a home run in last season, the season before, I was going Mike, like the commercial with the camel.
With the camel.
So
Hump day.
So yeah, you can use that if you want. Just throwing it out there.
We call him Florida Man.
There's also a ton of speed on this team, which, as we have said before, could be huge with the bigger bases. All of their starting pitching is solid, headlined by Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie, and their bullpen is nightmarish for opposing hitters. Emmanuel Clase, James Karinchak, Trevor Stephan, and Nick Sandlin all had ERAs in the 2s last year and very high strikeout numbers. The Guardians will be frustrating a lot of teams this year on all fronts. What you got?
I'm pretty excited for them. I feel like the depth that they have in their pitching is really going to be what brings them above the other teams. And I'm sad to see Mike Zunino leave, obviously, because I just enjoyed watching him play. And it might be either a strike or a home run, but home runs are pretty exciting.
Yeah. I mean, he was hitting a lot of, 110-mile-an-hour singles towards the end, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, his injury, I think, is the reason why they decided not to bring him back. But
he's still entertaining.
Yeah. He's definitely a good catcher, too. He's good defensively, and I think they value that, obviously, with their pitchers. So.
And the fact that they lost 2 other catchers.
Yeah.
Well timed. All right, next up we have the Kansas City Royals.
5 minutes on the clock, starting now.
This offseason, the Royals signed right-handed pitcher Jordan Lyles to a 2-year, $17 million contract. They signed left-handed pitcher Ryan Yarbrough to a 1-year, $3 million contract. Signed left-handed pitcher Aroldis
I rolled this.
Chapman. Aroldis Chapman to a 1-year, $3.75 million deal. They traded center fielder Michael A. Taylor to the Twins for left-handed pitcher Evan Sisk and right-handed pitcher Steven Cruz. They traded shortstop Adalberto Mondesi and a player to be named later to the Red Sox for left-handed pitcher Josh Taylor. They signed right-handed pitcher Zach Greinke to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. They signed outfielder Jackie Bradley Jr. in a minor league deal, and they signed outfielder Franmil Reyes to another minor league deal. Who they lost? Mondesi and Michael A. Taylor were traded away, and that's about it. There were some DFA guys, but they weren't really impactful enough to make it to the team if they were DFA'd. So, whatever. The starting lineup for the Royals is batting first, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., batting second, designated hitter MJ Melendez, batting third, catcher Salvador Perez, Batting fourth, first baseman Vinny Pasquantino. Nope. Tino. I was so close. Pasquantino. Batting fifth, third baseman Hunter Dozier. Dozier. Dang it.
This is the theme if you just go back and listen to the other episodes.
I just can't speak or read. That's really the problem. I promise I have a brain.
It's a lot of names.
Batting sixth is center fielder Kyle Isbell. Batting seventh is left fielder Edward Olivares. Batting eighth is second baseman Michael Massey. And batting ninth is right fielder Nate Eaton. The starting...
What's he eating?
Bacon. The starting pitchers for the Kansas City Royals are...
Nathan eating bacon. It rhymes, kind of. Nathan and bacon.
Is he eating bacon because he's out of vino?
I don't know. Oh. Sorry, we're too distracted.
The starting pitchers include right-handed pitcher Zach Greinke, right-handed pitcher Jordan Lyles, right-handed pitcher Brady Singer, left-handed pitcher Ryan Yarbrough, and right-handed pitcher Brad Keller. The bullpen includes right-handed pitcher Scott Barlow, right-handed pitcher Dylan Coleman, left-handed pitcher Aroldis Chapman, right-handed pitcher Taylor Clark, left-handed pitcher Amir Garrett, right-handed pitcher Josh Stalmont, left-handed pitcher Josh Taylor, and right-handed pitcher Carlos Hernandez. The Royals are a long way away from being competitive, but they do have some promising young players in their system. Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez, and Vinny Pasquantino all have a floor of being serviceable MLB players for the length of their careers. I hesitate to say that they all have a ceiling of perennial all-stars, but I think at least Bobby Witt Jr. is headed in that direction. Their starting rotation is headlined by Zach Greinke. I love Greinke, but if he's your number one, you're going to have a bad time. They have Brady Singer in there, who has a devastating sinker-slider combo, and for what it's worth, is projected to have the lowest ERA of the starters. They have a decent bullpen with Barlow and Chapman as the notables, but the question will be if their starters will be able to consistently give them 5 innings of quality pitching.
Yeah. It's not great. Brady Singer is probably the most promising pitcher that they have in the rotation. Also the youngest. Yarbrough can be effective in small doses, but this is like the first time I think that he is going to be a starter. Like he was a bulk guy for the Rays. He just wasn't really a starting pitcher.
And he wasn't all that exciting anyway.
Yeah, he's pitched to contact and hope they pop it up or fly ball or ground ball. He gave up a lot of homers. Yeah. But their lineup is young and promising, and they've got a lot of prospects and stuff that could make an impact this year. Next up, we've got the Detroit Tigers. 5 minutes on the timer. Starting now. This offseason, the Detroit Tigers signed right-hander Michael Lorenzen to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. They signed left-hander Matthew Boyd to a 1-year, $10 million deal. They traded left-handed pitcher Gregory Soto and second baseman Cody Clemens to the Phillies for outfielder Matt Vierling, shortstop Nick Matone, and catcher Donnie Sands. They acquired third baseman Tyler Nevin from the Orioles for cash considerations. They signed left-handed pitcher Jace Fry to a minor league deal. And they signed right-handed pitcher Matt Whistler to a minor league deal and invited him to spring training. Slider specialist Matt Whistler.
Ooh.
Who they lost: third baseman Jimmer Candelario, shortstop Willie Castro, shortstop Harold Castro, right-handed pitcher Kyle Funkhauser, who houses the funk.
It's a big responsibility.
Yeah. We want the funk.
Gotta have that funk.
Detroit lost that funk.
Too bad.
Catcher Tucker Barnhart, also gone. Left-hander Andrew Chafin and his epic mustache. Gone.
Double whammy.
Yep. Their lineup is as follows. Batting first, left fielder Akil Baddoo. Batting second, shortstop Javier Baez. Batting third, center fielder Riley Green. Batting fourth, right fielder Austin Meadows. Batting fifth, first baseman Spencer Torkelson. Batting sixth, designated hitter Kerry Carpenter. Batting seventh, second baseman Jonathan Scope.
Shoop.
I think it's Scope. Batting eighth, third baseman Nick Matone. And batting ninth, catcher Jake Rogers. Their starting pitchers, left-handed pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez. Left-handed pitcher Matthew Boyd. Right-handed pitcher Michael Lorenzen. Right-handed pitcher Matt Manning. Right-handed pitcher Spencer Turnbull. In the bullpen, right-handed pitcher Alex Lang. Right-handed pitcher Jason Foley. Right-handed pitcher Jose Cisnero. Right-handed pitcher Will Vest. Will in a vest. Left-handed pitcher Tyler Alexander. Right-handed pitcher Garrett Hill. Left-handed pitcher Chasen Shreve. Right-handed pitcher Mason Englert.
Only at work.
Huh?
You're not allowed to wear a vest any other time.
The Tigers have some guys in the lineup that can slug, but none of them have really done it consistently. Austin Meadows had an outstanding 2021 with the Rays with a 100 RBI season, and then this past year struggled to get on the field due to injuries and mental health issues, which we applaud him for being open about. Miguel Cabrera is a legend, but he's aging and is projected to only be a platoon player versus left-handed pitching. Javi Baez can provide the occasional spark, but he struggles with exceptionally bad plate discipline. There was one that bounced like 6 feet in front of the plate last year, and he was swinging like wildly. Yeah,
That's
for a strikeout. Looking at the bright side, though, they already have a few young players that have come up within the last couple years. Riley Green, Akil Baddoo, and Spencer Torkelson. And they added another 3 in the trade we mentioned with the Phillies. They also signed Julio Rodriguez. Wow. I don't know how we missed that one.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually Julio E. Rodriguez.
Julio-y?
Julio E. Not the same as the Mariners' Julio. He was signed to a minor league deal and will report at their Double-A level. He's a catching prospect. With the name jokes aside, as much potential as the lineup has, the pitching just doesn't have it. Of all their pitchers, starting and bullpen, only 4 are projected to have an ERA under 4. With that said, 2 of their starting pitchers who are ordinarily in the rotation, Casey Mize and Tariq Skubal, are on the IL. Even though the Tigers won't be good this year, I give them credit for one of the most awesome things from the WBC. They signed Nicaraguan pitcher Duque Hebert immediately after his performance against the Dominican, in which he struck out Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, and Rafael Devers.
The real Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, the Julio. The Julio. Julio the Julio. Oh my god. This is gold, guys. This is gold. And Rafael Devers. Though the signing has not been made official, it's still a cool story.
And not like, cool story, bro.
Yeah. Actually cool. All right.
Next up.
Minnesota. It's a little tiny Coke. A mini soda.
Is it 2 of them?
Twins? Twin mini sodas? I like it.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Oh my god. Great. Wonderful. 5 minutes on the clock.
Starting now.
In the offseason, the Minnesota Twins acquired second baseman Kyle Farmer from the Reds for right-handed pitcher Casey Lagumina. Nailed it. Traded third baseman Gio Urshela to the Angels for right-handed pitcher Alejandro Hidalgo. They signed left fielder Joey Gallo to a 1-year, $11 million deal.
I thought you were going to say Gallo.
I know who Joey Gallo is. Oh my gosh. They signed catcher Christian Vasquez to a 3-year, $30 million deal. Did I say that Joey Gallo was 1 year, $11 million?
I believe so.
They acquired right-handed pitcher Pablo Lopez and shortstop Jose Salas from the Marlins for outfielder Byron Churrio and second baseman Luis Ariz. They acquired right-handed pitcher AJ Alexi from the Nationals for right-handed pitcher Christian Jimenez. They acquired center fielder Michael A. Taylor, as we talked about in one of our earlier episodes. He is the insurance policy for Byron Buxton, from the Royals for left-handed pitcher Evan Sisk and right-handed pitcher Steven Cruz. And they signed shortstop Carlos Correa to a 6-year, $200 million deal.
Ooh.
Who they lost: third baseman Miguel Sano, right-handed pitcher Chris Archer, catcher Gary Sanchez, right-handed pitcher Dylan Bundy, right-handed pitcher Michael Fulmer, and they traded away third baseman Juro. I need glasses, guys. That's the real problem. Gio Urshela and second baseman Luis. They're not on the same line. It's hard. Luis Ariz, the American League batting champion in 2022. The starting lineup for the Minnesota Twins is batting first, DH Byron Buxton, batting second, shortstop Carlos Correa, batting third, right fielder Max Kepler, batting fourth, third baseman Jose Miranda, batting fifth, left fielder Joey Gallo, batting sixth, catcher Christian Vasquez, batting seventh, first baseman Alex Kirilloff. Kirilloff? There's another I in there. Batting eighth, center fielder Michael A. Taylor, and batting ninth, second baseman Nick Gordon. The starting pitchers include right-handed pitcher Pablo Lopez, right-handed pitcher Sonny Gray, right-handed pitcher Joe Ryan, right-handed pitcher Tyler Mahle, right-handed pitcher Kenta Maeda. Their bullpen includes right-handed pitcher Jorge Lopez, right-handed pitcher Yon Duran, right-handed pitcher Griffin Jax, left-handed pitcher Caleb Thielbar, right-handed pitcher Emilio Pagan, right-handed pitcher Jorge Alcala,
Alcala Cab.
left-handed pitcher Giovanni Moran? I hope it's Moran. And right-handed pitcher Randy Dobnak.
Right.
So the Minnesota Twins have a pretty strong lineup with Buxton, Correa, Gallo, and Max Kepler. They have Nick Gordon listed as the starting second baseman, with Jorge Polanco dealing with a knee inflammation issue and being doubtful for opening day. They have a decent starting rotation, all of whom were acquired via trade, which seems notable. Pablo Lopez is projected to be their opening day starter, and he hasn't thrown one meaningful pitch in a Twins uniform yet. They have some nasty arms in their bullpen, as well in Jorge Lopez and... I already forgot. Yon Duran. Yon Duran. It feels like the Twins' success leans heavily on how healthy Buxton can stay. He is a dynamic, game-changing player and can lead them to a lot of wins. I think Fangraph's projection of having him at DH is smart because that eliminates a chance for him to get hurt playing center field. He will probably rotate in there, but less of a risk with him, the better.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. I don't know the exact number, but he's played less than 100 games in, I think, each of the last few seasons. But when you put his numbers together and add them into one season, then he's an MVP caliber player.
He just has to be there.
Yep. You just got to stay healthy. Do you have anything else on the Twins before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I'll save the rest for my predictions.
Predicciones.
See.
That's probably not even the word. But anyway, last but probably not least, we have the Chicago White Sox. 5 minutes on the timer, starting now. This offseason, the Chicago White Sox signed right-handed pitcher Mike Clevinger to a 1-year, $12 million deal. They signed left fielder Andrew Benintendi to a 5-year, $75 million deal. Not too sure about that one. They signed shortstop Elvis Andrews to a 1-year, $3 million deal. Who they lost? Shortstop Danny Mendick, outfielder Adam Engel, outfielder AJ Pollock, right-handed pitcher Vince Velasquez, first baseman Jose Abreu, right-handed pitcher Johnny Cueto, right-handed pitcher Kyle Crick. All of them were lost to free agency. Abreu had been there for a long time, so that's kind of a big loss there. Their lineup is as follows. First, shortstop Tim Anderson. Second, center fielder Luis Robert. Third, left fielder Andrew Benintendi. Fourth, designated hitter Eloy Jimenez. Fifth, third baseman Yon Moncada. Sixth, first baseman Andrew Vaughn. Seventh, catcher Yasmani Grandal. Eighth, right fielder Oscar Colas. Ninth, second baseman Elvis Andrews. Their lineup... what? Rewind. Their starting pitchers: right-handed pitcher Dylan Cease, right-handed pitcher Lance Lynn, right-handed pitcher Lucas Giolito, right-handed pitcher Mike Clevinger, right-handed pitcher Michael Kopech. In the bullpen, they have right-handed pitcher Kendall Graveman, left-hander Aaron Bummer, right-handed pitcher Joe Kelly, right-hander Reynaldo Lopez, left-hander Jake Diekman, right-handed pitcher Jose Ruiz, right-handed pitcher Nick Avila, and right-handed pitcher Jimmy Lambert. The White Sox lineup is solid. They aren't really a lineup you look at and go, wow. But they have guys with pop, for sure. Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez at the top. The starting pitching is also what I can only describe as solid, but there is a little bit of a wow factor there with Dylan Cease. He finished second in the 2022 AL Cy Young voting. He had a streak of 14 consecutive starts where he only allowed one earned run or fewer. Lucas Giolito is looking to have a bounce back of sorts after finishing 2022 with nearly a 5 ERA. Their bullpen takes a big hit with the loss of Liam Hendriks, who we hope is getting well and will be back next season, hopefully, or season after that. We're going to miss you this year, Liam. But they should get a boost with Garrett Crochet returning from Tommy John surgery. Whether Crochet will be a starter or reliever still remains up for debate. Overall, the roster has a handful of good pieces, but just not enough to inspire me. They do have a guy named Berger, Jake Berger. So,
I knew a kid in high school whose name was Josh Berger.
Josh Berger?
He sucked.
Well, the point is,
we're hungry.
The White Sox are hungry for wins. They got burgers.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm pretty hungry, too. I don't know if you can hear my stomach growling in the podcast, but...
But it is. Pretty loudly.
Well, she got...
I'm just... There's not a lot to be impressed with. There's a lot of people that have health concerns. If they're not going to be injury-riddled, then they have a really good chance of doing some stuff. But if they are going to be injury-riddled, which they have been in the past, then they're going to do what the White Sox do.
Yeah. I touched on it when I listed off him signing with the White Sox, but I don't know why they get Benintendi it's not really like a large contract in terms of dollars, but 5 years, I don't think he really showed 5 years, $75 million worth of value when he was playing for the Yankees last year. Like,
I didn't realize he was only 28.
yeah. I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I don't know. It's a good signing for the White Sox. Well, that sounds bad. That sounds pretty harsh. I'm gonna dial that one back. I'm gonna take that one back. Sorry, White Sox fans. I'm gonna leave it in the episode, but I'm gonna take it back. I felt too mean. All right, so we are going to move on to our predictions as we watch Japan hit another solo home run and increase the lead to 3-1. Great. America. So, of course, to build the suspense, we are starting with last place and going to first place. Just so you guys know. In 5th place, the Detroit Tigers. They are collecting prospects, but I need to see those prospects perform to their potential before I move them any further up this list. That being said, they're playing their opening series versus the Rays, and I seriously hope that the Rays don't underestimate them because those young guys can play. So don't give them a chance to beat you. In 4th place, the Royals. They're a young team with promise, but they are still a few years away. I like what they're doing, though, and they should be able to have good games against some good teams this year. I'm not sure if they will win those games, but they'll be in them. They'll be close. In 3rd place, the Chicago White Sox. They kind of need to have a renewal this year and play like they're inspired because last year it kind of seemed like they had their souls sucked out of them by Tony La Russa. And not in a good way.
Nice.
If they can do that, then I think they'll land higher than 3rd and maybe make the playoffs. But based on what we know right now, I'm going with 3rd. 3rd place. 2nd, Minnesota Twins. The key is health for the Twins. And I don't think they can sustain it, even with Buxton getting a lot more DH days. You know, he's got to be out there for a full season for them to have a chance to win the division. It's as simple as that. Also, their pitching is not in the same tier as the Guardians. I value pitching over hitting, like, all the time, because hitting a ball is really hard, and if you have good pitchers, it's that much harder.
Sure.
The Guardians are number 1. They're going to win the division this year. They are going to keep using that Guardians devil magic and finding all the spaces with their bloop hits. And they'll add a few blasts in there from Jose Ramirez, Josh Bell, Mike Zunino, and others. Their pitching is scary and should dominate, especially the bullpen. I think they will once again be the only team from the Central to make the postseason. Because as we discussed last episode, I'm pretty sure the AL East is going to be sending 3 of the 6 teams from the American League to the playoffs. I mean, this was a really tough division to predict because given the scenarios that we talked about in the notes, the top 3 in this division could be shuffled around and just picked at random. I mean, maybe more like top 2 is kind of a toss-up. White Sox, if they get their shit together, they'll mix in there. But the closer you look at it, I think the Guardians are the ones that separate themselves from the field. What do you think?
I think we had a lot of not in common picks.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. All right. In 5th place, I have the Kansas City Royals. They cleaned house in the offseason. with their manager and general manager being replaced. They're still in the middle of a rebuild, but they're really still not that close to winning. They have a lot of young talent with Bobby Witt Jr., MJ Melendez, Vinny Pasquantino, plus some other younger prospects. Bobby Witt Jr. had a really good rookie season with 20 home runs and 57 extra base hits, so he's going to be carrying a lot of that. But their pitching is still just kind of below average, I would say. Greinke and Yarbrough don't have all that much that they get to bring to the table in terms of pitching, and they really just need to start spending money. If they want to finish this rebuild and get to the point where they're going to start winning, they need to spend money. And then in 4th place, I had the Tigers. Tigers. Their 2022 was very much worst case scenario for them, so hopefully 2023 will be better. They spent a lot of money, but only went 66 and 95 in 2022. They had an average runs scored per game of 3.44, which is pretty bad. A lot of the players that they expected to bring the talent were not in a position to bring the talent. Austin Meadows was out for the mental health stuff, which, like you said before, good for him for being so open about it. I think that's definitely not a common thing to hear about in professional sports as a whole.
Well, he got injured, and then he was like almost 100% back, and then I think he had injured like one Achilles or something like that, and then he was almost all the way back and blew the other one.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And then scoop. Scoop.
I wanna shoot, baby.
And Javi Baez, just they didn't bring what they're supposed to be bringing. And I don't know that they're really going to be able to do all that much more with it. They have Casey Mize out with Tommy John surgery, and they traded out Gregory Soto. So I think that their pitching is going to be a challenge as well.
Yeah, they do have those injuries for the starters, and bullpen isn't really all that great.
Yeah. The one thing that we agree on, I have the White Sox in 3rd.
Because they're mid. They're literally the definition of mid. They went 81 and 81 last year.
Mid.
Also, every split that you could have, at one point there was a tweet I saw where it was like, over the last week the White Sox went 3-3. Over the last month the White Sox went 15 and 15. Over the last blah 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 the White Sox were 25 and 25. It was like literally 500 the whole year.
We went to one of their games, and I don't remember anything about it. Baseball related.
Pretty sure we lost. It was Rays and White Sox.
Oh, crap, it was.
Yeah.
We did lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was cold as...
Yeah, it was cold. Really cold. It was colder than the day it snowed at Wrigley.
Yeah. There was just no snow. So cold. So for the White Sox, there are very small shoes to fill with La Russa leaving. So I think that Griffel is going to be...
He has really small feet?
Yeah, I mean, he probably is just going to rip the shoes off with his bigger than the feet that were there for him before. There's a lot of should-be stars turning out to be really underwhelming in their performances, or they're just injury-riddled. If Griffel is able to do what he should be able to do with the people that he has, then it could work out. But he has to work out for them to work out. They have a lot of health problems as well with some of their staff. Benintendi lacked power hitting, so he's not going to be all that great. There are a lot of struggles with their rotation. Like Lynn, who was previously a Cy Young contender, but he's now 35, so he just aged out of being good, basically. I'm not even going to talk about Mike Clevenger. And then with Liam Hendriks being out of the bullpen, I feel like there's also a bit of a distraction and like sadness amongst the team, and I feel like that's not gonna win to their favor. But
it could be turned to motivation.
I mean, that is true, and hopefully that is the case. But he is gonna come back, and he's gonna be great, and we're gonna be just really optimistic about the whole thing.
Yeah.
In 2nd place, I have the Guardians. With Josh Bell, he was really good for the Nationals, but he struggled with the Padres. Jose Ramirez was injured a lot of last year, and if he is healthy this year, he could be a lot of help, but it's hard to say with him being injured. There's a lot of power in Mike Zunino, so I feel like he could definitely provide some of the oomph that they are lacking in a lot of situations. Their pitching depth is decent, but they remain minimally active at the trade deadline. So when it comes down to the timing of the season and they have very little time to be able to make decisions that are going to benefit them, they kind of just stall. And that's not going to be...
They're also down there with the Rays and Orioles and others with not spending a lot of money on their payroll.
Not a lot of people can do what the Rays do, though. And I feel like while not every team who is not spending a lot of money is trying to do what the Rays do, sometimes you just need to spend money.
They did beat the Rays in the postseason last year.
We don't talk about it. But, I mean, it doesn't say much about your team if you're being ranked second in the division that you're in. There's not a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Collectively mid.
Middle America.
Central. And that leaves in first place the Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins. They have a lot of top players that need to deliver in Carlos Correa if, his leg works. Byron Buxton if his body works.
I heard that the artificial leg that is inside of Carlos Correa, like the artificial bone, is made out of sawdust. It's a joke.
I hope that sound that you just made showed up on the...
Probably not.
Does Carlos Correa have an artificial leg? Also, I definitely wrote Carlos Cornea. Okay.
I hope he does, because that would sound real dumb.
I think that it was a really good move for them to no longer fraternize with Gary Sanchez. He was pretty disappointing in comparison to what he offered to other big names. They have a strong rookie in Jose Miranda, and when Royce Lewis comes back from his knee surgery, hopefully he's able to bring more with him.
So I believe that the artificial leg thing is a myth.
The whole artificial leg thing, not just the sawdust part.
Yeah. I was joking about it, but I'm pretty sure it's just he had some knee issues. I think he had knee surgery and he's got some scar tissue or something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't pay attention to the other stuff you were saying because I was trying to find out if he actually had an artificial leg.
Nice. So for the Twins pitchers, they could be above average, but they don't really have an ace in that they don't know that Lopez is going to be able to provide a consistent performance that would make him be the ace. But they do have a good bullpen with Jorge Lopez and Yon. Oh my gosh, I tried so hard. Duran.
He's not Joan.
That's the problem that I'm having. We have a cat whose name is Jon Snow, but I call him Joan. Like the singular of the last name Jones, Jone. So this guy's name being Yon is just too close for my itty bitty little brain to be able to process it.
Alright. Do we have any fangrams?
We do not have any frangrams.
Frangrams.
Dang it. Fangrams. But to be fair to our millions of followers, we didn't remind them before we recorded the episode.
Yeah, we haven't been doing that. Sorry. We've just been really busy making the episodes.
And watching
baseball.
Yeah.
We have been pumping out these episodes, guys, so I hope you guys appreciate this.
I hope you understand the level of dedication that we have been putting into this, because it's like having a second full-time job. And
for real.
My full-time job already makes it so I work more than a full-time job would normally work.
And I just started classes.
Yeah.
Like online classes.
Adult education.
Yep. So appreciate us. That's the bottom line.
We appreciate you. So even if you don't appreciate us, just keep listening because that's nice.
Yeah. We're not doing this for money. Obviously, we're not making any money right now off of this. We're doing it for enjoyment of baseball and to give you guys a different kind of perspective on it with us going back and forth with each other.
So we hope that's good for you.
Yeah. Hopefully you find us funny because we are.
We're hilarious, actually.
Hilarious sexually?
I said actually?
Oh. Actually, I've never been on live television before. Apparently. I know, but I said it different.
That's Brittany's favorite thing. All right, so fangram to Brittany from us. Apparently, we've never been on live television before.
We're a live podcast.
Podcasting live? I don't think it's a podcast. I think that's called the radio.
No.
No.
There's live podcasts.
Anyway, Brittany, we love you. Especially if you're listening to this because you are, like, not the biggest fan of baseball. So if you're still listening 8 episodes in, you're a good friend.
9.
Oh my gosh, you used even more. 9 episodes in. You're such a good friend. Well, that's all we've got for you for today. We hope you have enjoyed the American League Central. Before we go, the normal obligations. Please like, follow, share, comment. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Everywhere you listen to podcasts. Give us a rating, a review. Say some nice things. Please go onto the Google form and submit some fangrams so that it's not embarrassing when we don't have any.
Yeah, it's under our link tree. So
Everything you could possibly need is located there.
Yep. All of our social media accounts. I am the most active on Twitter. I will occasionally live tweet games as much as I can. So if you're interested in that, follow us on Twitter. We're on every social media at Baseball Chain.
And last but not least, if anyone messages or comments or shares and says anything about us doing a giveaway, we might actually do one. So, I don't know, try it out.
What will we give away?
I can't give it away yet.
Ha! Ha!
Okay, well anyways, we love you. This has been the Baseball and Chain podcast.
Till death do us baseball.
Ah!
It's so loud.